Hello everyone, it is April 18th, 2023. It's Tuesday. It's Harp Tuesday. So today I'm going to be taking a look at the first of the Pozzoli exercises from Maria Grossi's method for harp. This is chock full of exercises. I particularly like these Pozzoli exercises that start on page 90. And the really nice thing is that almost all of them can be played on not only pedal harp but also on lever harp. So I'm going to talk about this very first exercise, but let me start by playing it for you. So I'm going to play the right hand, and then the left hand does the same thing an octave lower. So here's the right hand. And now left hand. Great, so an exercise clearly, but quite pleasant to listen to and pleasant to play. And I think the big advantage of an exercise, right, is it allows you to focus on one particular thing or a few things rather than playing a piece of music where you can get caught up in the music and you can also, it does a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this. And so here, I think the main thing this particular exercise is focusing on is the replacing, the turning around 4, 3, 2, training the fingers to all go back on. Right, that we're not going to go 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to replace all of them. I think I did an episode a little while ago talking about that idea of wanting to make sure that when we have a descending 4-note passage with 1, 2, 3, 4, that we find them all at once. But of course, we can also think about sort of the nice articulation, some nice movement with the hand. So let me go through it slowly then and talk a little bit about some of the things you might think about if you're playing this. So, of course, setting up, finding all 4 of these notes to start with. 4. So a nice, relaxed close into the hand. And remember that we're focusing on playing the string. We're not focused on like clenching the finger into the palm, but that the follow through of playing should hopefully bring the fingertip to touch the palm. It says andante calmo, so we're not looking to go super fast. You can definitely play it slower than the tempo that I played it at for you just now. And potentially relaxing, breathing a little bit between each note. So here's that turnaround. You want to find all 3 fingers. I want to take a moment to contrast this with very, very early on in the Layne method. She has a similar thing where we're learning to turn around, and she deliberately writes it in a rhythm such that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, where we get a chance to take as much time, like more time to get set. And that's just something to be aware of here, that with that turnaround, in this exercise, yes, we'd like it to sound in rhythm. That's something we could be working on, but largely I think the first thing we want to be working on is this placement, so that if you need to take a little bit of extra time initially, that's fine, right? That we don't want to go in our effort to keep it in rhythm. If we start scrambling with the fingers, that's kind of defeating the purpose of this exercise of taking time to make sure we do get the right placement and train the fingers to find that. Then we get the same thing, starting a third higher. So another thing in this is reading music. Like if you're playing this and maybe new to reading music and noticing patterns, because music is all about patterns. They are very repeatable. Like we can be sure that if we do this, that because this next note starts, so this first one was on the extra ledger line down here, which is middle C, and if it were right above that here, that's the D, but we just know it's the next string up from the first one we started on, and then one more string up here, that's the E. So we don't even need to know that it's an E there. We just know that we're starting here or a third higher. I mean, it's good to know that it's an E, but anyway, looking for these patterns. Here's that replacement. And a rest. And it's nice because there's often very consistently a comma marked when we're coming off. And a comma is not only a very common way to show the end of a connected passage, but the general meaning of a comma in music is a breath mark, which is not always the case in harp music. But in a sense, coming away acts like a breath mark in a way that it forces us or tells us, allows us, encourages us to relax. That again, lots of things to think about, but if you have a chance to think about that arm and wrist movement, hinging at the wrist, floating the arm up, leaving the elbow steady, stable, but hinging in the shoulder socket like this. This is a great spot to do that. Oh, here we're now placing all of these, so a chance to place 3, 2, 1 before we play 4. The brackets are very good and excellent and accurate. Maybe a little bit confusing here because what's this 3 in parentheses and 2 in parentheses doing? So there's actually, I would say, 3 different ways we could finger this little section. And she's giving us 2 of them. So we're coming down, right? C, A, B, G. We could just do 1, 2, 1, 2. But it can be nice in a little descending thing like that to alternate the bottom finger. Always thumb on top, but the 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. You don't have to. You may just end up going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but it's a nice thing to practice, at least alternating them. And so that's what she has, either to go 1, 2, 1, 3, or the fingering that I used that felt best to me was 1, 3, 1, 2. And that kind of carries on that alternating because we've gone 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2. So because we've just played 2 on the B here, that's why I chose to do 3 next, because it again carries on that 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1 kind of pattern. So kind of a neat thing to practice there. Then on the second line, now we're going down, so we get to practice finding all these fingers. Nice raise, relax. And I would say, again, right now I'm kind of placing a moment before playing, but you don't have to. To start with, you're trying to place everything, and then once you know you have that, then you play. And now we just connect to the thumb. Bracket just from 4 to 1. Place all these fingers. Here's something, a 4, 2, 1. So it's quite a common configuration, but it can feel a little bit strange if you're haven't done it before, because that third finger, you don't want it curled up like this out of the way, you just let it stay closed. So we've just gone, these fingers should be closed. 2 opens up, the thumb opens up, and the third finger opens up enough so that back of it, actually you could even let it touch the A, but ideally it's maybe just hovering very close to the A. And now here's third finger, and now 2 and 1. Again, following this rule of when we're going from the C to the A, we don't place the B yet because then we'd have to play the B next. We only want to place it in one direction, a high note to a low note. Oh, and now we're going back up, and now we can place all of those. So that little sequence, those last 4 bars, and then it's the same thing in the left hand. And in the left hand in particular, we're dealing with some bigger strings, so what you might find is you get some buzzing and surface noise as you go to replace the fingers. Now, you can think about opening up a little bit past the strings so that if we sweep the strings like this, of course, our fingernails, which are the loudest, they're going to create the loudest and worst sound if the fingernails touch. Whereas if we come from this direction, there's less chance of the fingers touching the strings. Certainly this way kind of guarantees it if you end up touching them like this. So opening up and placing, again, for the most clean sound, you would be placing as you play the thumb, so the thumb covers up that sound of. But the thing is, there's always going to be some sound when we put our fingers on a ringing string, and especially if you're fairly new to the harp, I wouldn't get too concerned at this point about surface noise. So again, if you're sweeping the back of the finger against the string, open up a little bit more and then fall down. But other than that, that's fine. Or something like this. You still want to have a sort of a standard approach. You don't want to feel as if you have to just barely get on the strings or something. So don't worry too much about surface noise. Especially if you're just starting this exercise and it's all feeling a little bit strange. Again, that idea that one of the things of an exercise is to focus on something and be able to really dig into that. And here I think we're digging into the fingering, the placement. So just something to be aware of, I think, then, especially as I say in the left hand with those bigger strings. And then the bottom of this page, the sort of the second part of this exercise is to do them both together. A bit of surface noise, that's fine. Exactly. Placing all the fingers. All. Nice raise. Checking in with the shoulders and the back. Are you relaxed? Do you feel as if some of the effort can come from the back? And the shoulders, and the arms. Let the weight of the arms help out, that it's not all just in the fingers. Trying to stay relaxed. Again, that's another benefit from an exercise where there's maybe not so much going on, that you're not overloaded with stuff to think about, that you can focus on, okay, is your posture good, right? Are you not twisted? Is the spine relatively straight and centered? Are the shoulders relaxed? So often, right, it's easy to hike the shoulders up, so you can relax the shoulders. And as you're doing something like this. So yeah, I think, this is a nice little exercise. I think this book, if you're looking for exercises, particularly on lever harp, this can be a great option because, as I say, there are just maybe a few things specific for pedal harp, but almost all of the book has no accidentals. So it can easily be played on lever harp. I'll also link you to an episode I did many years ago about exercises, because I think on the harp, again, I'm a big fan of finding exercises from the music you're playing. I think on the harp, you want to know your chord progressions, whether it's 3-note or 4-note. You want to be comfortable with scales. And as part of the chord progression, arpeggios. And if you're comfortable with that, I think you're in great shape. But again, some of the exercises like this can be something great to work on just for maybe articulation, or for sound, or for finger placement, or for relaxation, or for movement. So yeah, again, this is quite a nice book. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will see you soon for another episode of Harp Tuesday. Cheers.